Hey team, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to look up TypeScript classes. I'm going to show you how to do a constructor, field variables, and functions. This video is about how to calculate the amount of electricity it takes to power all the lights in your kitchen. You'll be able to use this throughout your house. I hope you enjoy this video. Let us do our first dive into TypeScript classes. Before we dive into source code, let me kind of just explain the problem. So I found a picture of a kitchen on the internet, and notice it has one light bulb, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It has 11 light bulbs. And the goal of this class object we're going to calculate is I want to know how much it costs to maintain all those light bulbs daily, monthly, and annual. I want to know the cost. So let's solve this problem. And here we go. We're first going to say class and then the name of our class. And this is the object name, and you just have to be creative. I'm going to call mine Watt Inspector. And open curly and close curly. So that is the name of my class. Now the second thing that we want to do is put in our fields that make this up. What kind of things do I need to know about that? Well, I need to know about the number of watts per item, right? I need to know that. And that is going to be a number. Now, our next one is like, I want to know the quantity number. And then I want to know how many hours is that used daily. And the last one is, how about the cost per kilowatt? And that's the number. So as you see here, we now know the number of watts per item. So if we go back and look at that picture, so for this one light bulb, I know that it's like, 65 watts. And quantity would go up there and say, okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 11, 65 watt light bulbs. Now hours used, let's imagine that's used 8 hours a day. And like a cost is like 12 cents per kilowatt. So I kind of have all my inputs. Now in all programming, we end up looking at our fields and then we say, I want a better name than that. So I'm going to call that watts rated. Quantity is good. And then for the hours used daily, I'm just going to say hours used and then cost per kilowatt. Okay, I'm good with those now. All right. So now we want to build a constructor. And what we do is we just have to take these 4 fields and put them into the constructor and then assign them. So what I normally do is whatever the name of these are, I just put an underscore there and I say the data type. And then I put a comma and then I just work the next one. So the next one would be called quantity and its type is number, and get the next one. Hours used, number. And our last one is cost per kW, and that's a number. And then what we want to do is we want to take this input and assign it to this class object. So what we say is this.watt rated equals underscore watt. And we just want to do that for each one. So this dot quantity equals quantity. And there we have it. Our constructor is complete. Now remember, all of these fields by default are public. Now, as my first screen told you, a class has a constructor, fields, also known as variables, and functions. Well, you've already seen me do fields. You've seen me do the constructor. Now all we have are our functions left. So our first method is called getDailyCost. My return value is going to be a number, and notice I don't have any input parameters. So we're first going to say let total watts used, it's a number, and that's watts rated times the number of instances, the quantity. So that right there will give us the total watts used. Now to compute the total kilowatts used, we take the total watts used times the number of hours used, and then we divide that by 1,000, and that gives us the kilowatts used. And then to finish this method up, we just say return kilowatts used times the cost per kilowatt. And that is our first method, getDailyCost. Now what we can do here is we can pause and just run one of these and just see how much things are costing. So let's test this. How would we do that? The first thing we say, let lights equal new watt inspector. Now we have to feed this watt inspector, the constructor, some variables. Now watt rated, how much did we say those lights were? Imagine they were 65 watts each, and there were 11 lights, and they used them 8 hours a day, and the cost per kilobyte was 12 cents. So this is our constructor. Now for us to run this, we would say console.log lights.getDaily, and this will show us how much that costs per day. Let's run that. Notice for 11 lights at 65 watts, that would cost us 68 cents a day. Now the next method I would like to write is, now I want to look at it at a monthly. I get monthly billed, so I would like to know how much it's going to cost me just for my lights in the kitchen. So we're going to call this getMonthlyCost. So how would you do that? So what's the name of our function? getMonthlyCost. And we don't have any input parameters. The return value is a number. Now what we can say is we can say let monthly cost, its value is number, data type, equals this dot get daily cost times 365, right, divided by 12. So we're going to reuse this function here, getDailyCost, and then we're going to times that by 365. Then that result will be divided by 12, and that will give us our monthly costs. Now all we have to do is return monthly cost. Pretty nice. Let's go find out how much this costs. So what do we say? Console.log lights.getMonthly. And what we can do is this, we can clear that, just kind of start all over. And let's go figure that out. Let's run this. So notice daily cost me 68 cents, for a month, $20.87. Now we just need to write one more method, and that will be our annual cost. And here we have get annual cost. Its return value is a number, and notice I say let annual cost, its data type is number. I'm going to recall that get daily cost, and I'm going to times it by 365. That's going to give me my annual cost. Let's add this method to our function down below. So what do we say? Console.log lights. And then let's rerun this. So for those kitchen lights, $250 a year. So if we have 11 65 watt light bulbs that run about 8 hours a day and it costs 12 cents, costs $250 a year. That puts it in perspective, just how much things cost. Now you'll notice here, each of these methods, these are all public. And by default, everything that's inside of a class object is public. Now we can make things private, and let's do that. Notice I inserted a method that's private. The name of it is called getVersion. Its return value is a number. It's going to return 1, 1. Now when I come down here to see if I can use that, I would say lights.getVersion. Oh, look at that. It's not even available. It's not available because it is private. This method can only be called by one of these methods. It can only be called from inside of this class. This would be considered external, so I cannot see it from here. Let me show you how we can get that to work. Notice I have put in another function called getCurrentVersion, and this right here is called using a fat arrow notation. So notice this is the name of my function. Here are my input parameters. Notice there are none. Here is my return type. And now, hey, tell me what you want to do. This is the function content. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to call this.getVersion. That is this method. Now this is required. If I take this off, it's going to come up and say, where's this? You know, I don't know where that is. So you have to say this. Now, once we get that, we can then add that to our console. So we can say console.log lights. And what would we say there? GetVersion or getCurrentVersion? That's right, getCurrentVersion. And there it is. And let's clear this and rerun that. And notice 250 a year, version 1.1. And there you have the class object in TypeScript. And there you have it, team, an introduction to TypeScript classes. Now, classes in general are the center of the universe for programming, especially object-oriented programming. And once you get a hold of classes, you start making relationships between classes and interfaces, programming gets really, really fun, and you're able to solve a lot of incredible problems. But it all starts with baby steps. And before you can even take that baby step, you have to understand that there are problems that exist. And then you have to ask yourself, how can I solve that problem? For instance, measuring, how much it costs for light bulbs, that is a real problem. We all are using light bulbs in our house. Now you can walk around your house and kind of like figure out how much things cost. Imagine you guys have 5 TVs in your house, and they're all big 70-inch TVs, and you're running them 24 hours a day. Well, how much does that cost? How much does it cost to run your 3, dryers, 3 washers and 3 dryers in your house? It's expensive. How much does it cost, to use other appliances in your house? And you can figure it out. Figure it out by making class objects and doing what I just did. And there you have it, my friends. This video is all done, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a thing or two. And I'll see you back in my next video. Have a good week. Adios.